Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting edition of Two Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. All right, folks, we've all heard them, the rambling, just like stream of consciousness, just babbling word salad that's coming out of Trump's mouth. Like no one knows what it is. He can't stay on topic, can't stay on task. It's like he can't think on his feet, and there is obvious cognitive decline. The problem is nobody's questioning it. Nobody's asking why. Nobody's asking what is actually going on with the president and why do we keep having him in public? I mean, people complained ad nauseum about Joe Biden and the number of press conferences he wasn't having. But we see Trump in broad daylight, stuttering and stammering all over himself, and yet nobody stops to ask the question, Mr. Trump, are you okay? I'm joined by my partner in crime from the lovely confines of the Hudson Valley, right outside New York City. Brock Ganeles joins us now, the Uptown point guard, looking at what seems to be a mess. I mean, this guy can't even he can't answer a question and stay on task, much less get anything done. And this is the scary part to me, right? The lackeys, the Project 2025 people are running the show, right? They're setting the agenda and pushing it through.
They're definitely setting the agenda. It's not that clown car of cabinet members that sits around the table and talks about crown moldings and whether the color gold can be made in paint, within 8 seconds of Trump chastising the press for asking a question about Epstein, which wasn't important enough in light of all the deaths in Texas, before the immediate segue to talking about the crown moldings in the room and taking a vote. I think like Linda McMahon chimed in, I'd go with the gold. It's like that became the topic of conversation in a televised cabinet meeting when other questions weren't deemed important enough. But yeah, Trump, I guess it stops being a story, right, when it's every day. But the last 24 hours has been particularly telling. Trump saying he doesn't know who in the Department of Defense went against him in terms of the weapons to Ukraine. Why were they held up? Trump says he doesn't know and hasn't looked into it. Like, that's not important enough? The crown moldings are important, but whether or not arms are being sent to an ally, Trump has no idea. Hasn't showed up in Texas, supposedly going on Friday. Talking about a 50% tariff on Brazil because there's an investigation or a trial for Bolsonaro for trying to overthrow the government after he was voted out. I wonder why Trump is sympathetic to Bolsonaro, right? I mean, if New York City moves in a direction he doesn't like the federal government could come in and take over New York City, and talking about the federal government taking over Washington, D.C., right? Like, these are just like 5 or 6 things that I caught in the last 24 hours of Trump just babbling about inane shit that's so un-American and against anything, but he just says anything and feels he can do anything, and there's no one stopping him.
Right. Well, and there are no adults in the room. That clown car you talked about, at least in Trump 1.0, there was some people there who actually had an understanding of how American government works and not just WWE Raw, right? Like, these people understood what the government's purpose was, what each department did, what their position meant, right? Linda McMahon doesn't understand anything about our government. So anything that comes out of Trump's mouth is co-signed by these nut jobs because they just want to stay in his good graces. They're not going to question his cognitive decline. They're not going to suggest that he see a geriatric specialist. They're not going to suggest anything to do with his health or the fact that he's not in total control.
How is Jake Tapper not talking about this every day, right? He took the time to write a book about Biden's cognitive decline, right? Like, I mean, this is front and center. We're watching it in real time every day. But yeah, the last 24 hours has been particularly telling about how, like, really dementia-ridden and psychotic that Trump is. Like, he doesn't have a grip on reality. He can't get to it. Like you said, he can't answer any questions, cogently. So that's who's steering the ship. We're all on it. And, there is no way we can navigate 3.5 years of this mental decline. It's getting worse every day.
Every day. And dealing with dementia in my family, I know how quickly the decline can happen. We saw it rapidly here at my home. So I understand how quickly things can get out of control, right? And he's got access to the best physicians in the world, right? And the best medications, the best trials, the best of everything when it comes to medical care. And they're still propping him up and putting him out front.
Well, he won't hide it because he needs the adulation and the
Yes.
attention so bad that
Yes.
he'll get in front of the cameras every day because he loves the camera. He's, in his mind, he's a TV show, not a president, right? So, yeah, we're going to keep seeing it. If we had a real press corps that really pressed, that went after him harder, asked tougher questions, in essence, quote, tried to trip him up or forced him to analyze something and respond, it'd be even more stark.
Yeah, well, anytime he's put on the spot like that, he just lashes out, right? Did you see the Putin question? They asked him about, Vladdy, and he said, yeah, Vladimir's giving us a bunch of bullshit. I mean, come on, man. That's all you got for us as the president of these here United States? You tell us Vladimir Putin is giving you a bunch of bullshit? Have you forgotten that Vladimir owns you? Right? Have you forgotten that you're his useful idiot? Because we haven't. And you start talking tough like that to Vladdy, it's not going to end well for you. So, things are going to continue to blow up in his face because he can't remember where his allegiances are supposed to be, especially the one to Vlad. Now, we all know it's there. We've all seen it, right? But as his decline continues, and hopefully it goes rapidly, so he'll start blurting out more stuff that we need to know, and that they can't fix after the fact.
Yeah, right. That leak came out that he was talking about bombing Moscow or something like that in 2014. Right. Yeah, more stuff is going to come out. Yeah, so that's where we are with Trump. I mean, the unfortunate thing, as you alluded to, but he's empowered people behind him. ICE agents are still terrorizing America, right? We had the showdown in LA yesterday. Which no arrest came out of it, but we just have armed forces trooping through a major park in a major city as if there's an invasion going on, and then kind of being talked down by Karen Bass, the mayor, and in essence kicked out, but then doing their own press conference saying they'll be back. Like they sound like a criminal gang, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we'll be back to what? To burn the place down? To what are we talking about? They'll be back.
Right. I mean,
but they got to fill those detention centers.
They scared the hell out of those kids. They got horses. They got the heavily armed, ICE agents. Like, you're going to war. Who are you going to war with? Right? It ain't MS-13. It ain't any of these Venezuelan gangs. It's not none of the hood gangs, right? It ain't the Crips and Bloods. Who are you going after? Right? You said you were going to get rid of the worst of the worst. You're snatching people from their jobs. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that doesn't appear to be the worst of the worst. And we already know, right, the BS behind the ICE mission, right? It's to bring the numbers down, right? There's too many. The browning of America has gotten out of control, according to racist white America, the white supremacist doctrine, right? And they've got to try to fix the numbers. So let's just start kicking people out, sending them to jail for life, possibly, at some of the worst prisons around the world, which makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, this is a demographic numbers game.
Yep.
When I think we talked offline on this a little yesterday, when the numbers, when white America started looking at being a minority majority, the gerrymandering got cranked up. Then it moved to the big voter suppression, and now it's moved to the deportations. Right. And I don't know what's next. What's next is, maybe it's trying to get people to die sooner. So that's arguably a part of the healthcare cuts. You actually want people to die sooner.
Sure.
So, you're in essence of, the killing off of, groups
Americans.
Of people, of Americans, to get the numbers down. After that, it's all out, then we become like killing fields, right? Then it's actually killing people would have to be the next step. But the deportations can go on for a long time before then because they're building facilities everywhere, and now they're just finding more and more groups to round up. I don't know who comes after the Haitians, right?
Black Americans.
You think the people that check that box, African American.
African American, sure.
So just look at the census. Sure. Is that why they want to go into the cities?
Absolutely.
Easier
That's
to
the
find.
only reason to go into the urban centers, right? I mean, look, somebody finally said to these lunatics, hey, you keep grabbing all these migrants. There's nobody out there to do the work. There's nobody out there to pick the vegetables. There's nobody out there to build these houses. There's nobody out here to put these roofs on, right? Have you ever been in the hot sun and seen a roof removed, right? With African American or white talent? I have not. I've replaced 2 roofs since I've been in Georgia. And the only white or African American person I've seen is the people that own the companies that were responsible for changing my roof. Right? I've never seen any black talent up on that roof. Right? I mean, and these guys get it done in a day. In a day. Right? So if you're removing the workforce and people are telling you, MAGA voters with small businesses, construction companies are telling you, hey, you're taking my crews. How am I supposed to make any money? That's what's going on in Tallahassee when they showed up at that work site, right? Somebody called, DeSantis's office. DeSantis's office calls the president's office. Hey, you're snatching all our guys. We still need to get work done. We still need to make a paycheck. Right? We got mortgages too.
Yeah, well, we're going to stop cutting checks to you, DeSantis, if you hurt my business, so you better take care of my business if you want me to keep funding your campaign and the like. Trump knows that. Trump doesn't need to be told that twice, right? As soon as he sees that a dollar might not be coming his way, he'll change policy in a heartbeat, Boom. Right? So all of a sudden, we got to, he goes to Iowa, hears it from the farmers, and all of a sudden, ICE is looking the other way. It's been totally redeployed from anywhere rural to the cities now.
How about that? How about that? I wonder if they're going to the black farms, the black-owned farmers, because we know the black-owned farmer has been getting screwed under Trump 1.0 and 2.0. They can't get anything done. They can't get any relief. And, Trump's policies are making it tough for white farmers. Oh, wow. Black farmers are going to take it on the chin, and nobody's talking about that. All right? Nobody's talking about that because any relief packages that go out are not going to be earmarked for African-American farmers or African-American owned farms. And that's just the long and short of it, because that seemed as a DEI initiative. And God forbid, we have any of those, so screw the black farmer, right? So again, another sector of our economy hit hard, right? With no backlash, no repercussion. Because Brock, the thing about it now is who do you go to for help? You can't go to the government, can't go to court, because if it escalates and goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, you got a 6-3 advantage there, and those 6 idiots are going to do whatever the president tells them to do. So, it's like a circular pattern, right?
Yeah, there's little no recourse. We are kind of out on our own out here, which is why we need to unify. Which is why our rifts amongst groups are like just so useless and need to be put aside, because we're kind of all getting pushed down, except for that beloved 1%ers. Everyone else is getting pushed downward. Boxed in. So we're gonna have to rally up. It seems to me the protests have declined to disappeared. Dog days of summer, maybe no one wants to be out there on 100-degree days, and everyone's just trying to survive the heat. So we haven't heard about any protest, anything new popping up. Right, the big bill came along without much of a pushback or a ripple. We spent 5 days focusing on dead kids in Texas and how idiotic, our government is, and our government's basically disappeared, and how anti-science it is, and how even white kids are dying. But that hasn't really moved the needle on anything. Public sentiment's horrendous. Right, I saw the latest poll, and women approval of Donald Trump has dropped below 40%. Now, it still surprises me that there's 39% of women approve of him. But okay, it's down below 40% now. Men are at 50 on this poll, right? You can't believe any one poll, but I can certainly believe that his popularity is in decline as he, alienates person after person and makes life worse for person after person that people would peel off. I'm still surprised you get these interviews with these families that have had someone taken away by ICE. Like the husband has the wife taken away, but he's still supporting Donald Trump. And I'm always like, how's that? It just shows how hard it is for people to admit a mistake, right? Like
Right.
they'll just hang on to the decision they made previously, even though like that's what you're telling your kids. You agree with the person who took their mom away and she's now like sleeping on the floor in Alligator Alley. Like,
Right.
how is that possibly your stance?
Bro, I can't make it make sense. I don't know anyone who can. You know, the Hispanic community has looked at Donald Trump as if he was going to be a savior for some reason, and I can't think of what it could possibly be from his comments, you know, when he came down the golden escalator, the comments that he made when he announced his campaign, you know, about the Latino community. And it just makes no sense, you know, that they would, drift toward him for anything. You know, we're still getting heat. African Americans are still getting heat for having only 85% of black men voted, you know, the other way. Right? What happened to the other 15%? Right? Like, wait a minute. You know, these other communities were in the 50s and 60s, right? Women baffle me, right? The women baffle me, especially white suburban women, right? As mothers, how are you still embracing the madness 7 months in, right? 27 children and staff from a sleepover camp. That is, the Bush children went to this camp. Right? That camp is an institution in Texas. And we've got mothers that are still supporting this guy. We've got women who are supposed to have that maternal gene, that nurturing gene, still supporting this clown, right? Because the hate is that great in women.
Yeah, I think the fear of the others is that great. I think I've always said I also think the being in the perch of the number 2 slot on the social hierarchy in America is that they're comfortable there, and that if people of color work their way up, it can chip away. So they're comfortably in the second seat. So they allow patriarchy to continue, and as long as but if they're white, they're definitely, you know, they're worried about the crime, right? They're worried about crime coming to their neighborhood, so it's easy to play into that. So the changing dynamic of the society, being around more people of color, and then the MAGA world playing to that fear of them, that, oh, you're around more people of color, that means your life is now more dangerous. Oh, we need more police, we need more protections for you. The country's not what it was, so it's easy to kind of play into their fears, and fear is, you know, the number one motivator of people's behavior. Play into the fear.
Right. And, you know, I don't recall Obama's campaign talking about the fear of Dylan Roof, right? Everybody knows Dylan Roof. We forget that the Emmanuel AME Church and the victims that prayed for this young man before he mowed them down, right? And we don't hear that same kind of fear coming from the black. Why aren't black candidates saying, "Hey, you better look out for these crazy, white supremacist mass murderers"? You don't hear that as part of their plan.
Yeah, these disaffected, highly armed, young white men, right? That's a dangerous group, right? That's the school shooter profile right there.
Yeah.
That's kind of the profile of almost any mass shooting, right? The first thing you look for is like, okay, oh, they haven't released a name yet, haven't released a photo yet. Okay, I wonder who this is going to be, right? And now, sadly, we've almost stereotyped. You figure 9 out of 10 times it's going to be a young white male with access to firearms, and that last part, the access to firearms, is just about everyone these days.
And how about the $2 billion tax break for silencers? Now you can get a silencer for your weapon. So these mass shootings, you know, are going to be much more deadly because you don't have the noise.
You're not going to hear. Yeah, you only hear the gunfire.
Or to set things off and to get people like, what was that, right? So, you know, I mean, you have the lawmakers making it easier to get access to weapons. You have Donald Trump and Project 2025 setting the agenda. Donald Trump, the useful idiot, once again, for Putin, for Project 25. And, you know, we continue, you know, to churn along with Project 25, just turning back the hands of time. But somebody had compared Donald Trump's comments to slavery, talking about how, we'd start arresting people and then be forcing them to work, and we'd make sure they comply. Where we
Yeah,
heard
there's
that?
talk of that. Yeah, of the next step being putting people to work. Because
Yeah,
I already saw talk today of activists saying you got to boycott any company that agrees to roll along with that. And that was the first I'd heard of it. It's like, oh, we already have to think about boycotting that.
right. But we're
Meanwhile,
not boycotting the mass incarceration and the prison industrial complex that's already doing it, right? Look at some of the companies that are using prison labor: Idaho Potatoes, Walmart, Victoria's Secret, AT&T, all these companies.
okay, but once again, okay, I didn't know that, right? So that hasn't been publicized enough, right? That
No,
hasn't been because once you know, you know. Oh, I want to
right?
get back to that too. If you don't know, now you
Now
know,
you know.
right? So okay, so once you know, then you might act differently. Because I'm huge on the economic power. I love that the first day of Amazon Prime's like summer Prime sale or whatever was like down 40%. Love it.
Yes.
I wish it was like at zero. You
Zero,
know,
right?
everyone should have boycotted that, right? Because the easiest thing you can do is put your money
Yep.
where your values are, and
Where the
don't
pain is. Yep.
just try not to spend a dime for any company that you don't align with. But I didn't know that. But if I had that list of companies that were supporting the for-profit prison incarceration industry, then I would boycott them, right? I would just add them to my list of all these other companies I'm boycotting. And I don't think that I'm the only one. And as we talk about like how good the Target boycotts have been, right? That's the couch potato activism we can do, or
Yes.
rebellion we can do.
Yes. I haven't been to a Target since the boycott started. And in my neighborhood, I've noticed that the traffic there is a little less than what it used to be. A little less than what it used to be.
I wish it was a lot less, right?
I
Like
know.
Tesla's feeling the pinch. Yeah, you know what? More companies to feel that pinch. I forget who they were going after. It wasn't Home Depot. It was Home Depot was locking the doors. I think it was Walmart that's allowing ICE agents in, and there were a whole bunch of videos of people getting
Absolutely.
like tackled in the aisle, like in aisle 7 at Walmart, and like getting dragged out of there. And it's just like, who wants to live in this fucking society? Can't even go to the store and pick up a few things to not have like a bunch of masked agents with AK-47s running in. I mean, obviously it's more traumatic for the family that it's happening to, but it's traumatic for everyone who's witnessing it. Right? And you're scared shitless. You don't know if that one of those a-holes isn't having a bad day and decides to like,
Start popping off.
fire off a couple rounds.
Exactly. Exactly. And we're going to get to that point because we got January 6ers wearing these ICE uniforms, right? What kind of training could they possibly have? They just got pardoned less than 6 months ago, right? What kind of fucking training could they have? Right? And we know they're angry. We know they're Proud Boys. We know they're racist by nature, right? We know they're Oath Keepers and 3%ers. We know who they are, right? We just can't see their faces because of the masks. When have we worn masks? When has law enforcement worn masks to carry out any law enforcement activity?
I mean, I think the answer is never. Right? I've
Right.
never heard of it. Never heard of it.
We've never seen it.
I mean, the only masked, militia is like the Klan.
Right. Right.
Who else? Who else is running around America trying to hide who they are? I just don't.
Exactly.
I mean, no
Exactly.
historian here, but I certainly don't know of it.
Nope. Black Panthers, they didn't wear masks and they were gunned down and murdered, like it was nothing. Fred Hampton was murdered like it was nothing without a mask, right? For trying to elevate, right, the station of Black America, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Black Panther Party started out providing lunches for the most vulnerable among us in Oakland, right? But most people don't know the history of the Black Panthers, right? They know what they've been fed, which is most likely the whitewashed version.
Yeah, that they were like a big
Yeah, they
threat
were like a
to
terrorist
America,
group.
a violent
Yeah.
threat into like basically domestic terrorists, right? Is how they've been depicted.
Absolutely,
You
because
know,
once they said,
who gets to write the history, right? Who writes
right,
the history?
and once the Black Panthers said, hey, you know what? You want to carry weapons? We'll carry them too. How about that? Right? You want everybody to have guns? We'll get them too. Then everything changed about the Second Amendment, right? We want everyone to have guns, but not these folks, right? And everything changed. And, the first thing they wanted to do was get the guns out of the black folks' hands, but leave them in the hood. We just don't want them coming outside. Remember the 92 riots in LA, right? Soon as they started marching toward Beverly Hills, they shut that thing
That's what it
down.
is. Yeah, yeah.
That thing got shut down like nobody's business. Everything else can burn. When you start
Well,
moving up this way, we're going to shut that thing down.
we know only white people can open carry. Like black
Right,
people cannot open carry. Like so,
right.
there's laws, and then there's the practicalities of the way
Exactly.
society works. So before we hop, couple quick hitters. Just want to get your take on a couple things. Number one is like, what the fuck's going on? What's going on with Elon Musk? Like, what's up with Musk? New political party? Who's the customer for that party? Like, who's joining that political party? You're more Nazi than MAGA, but you're all about debt reduction? Is that the two? We're Nazis, but we're debt reduction, so we're going to carve off that couple of people that are for that. And what's up with changing the algorithm for his AI so that, I guess, Twitter/X went on some crazy anti-Semitic rants over the last 48 hours to the point that the CEO resigned this morning because she couldn't take it anymore?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You could take it for 2 years, but you couldn't take the last 48 hours because the AI was going off on a crazy anti-Semitic rant.
Tangent. And not only that, not only was it anti-Semitic, it was like just ridiculous content. Like what was peppering your feed was just ignorant. I mean, from porn to music to sports, there was no news. You had to search for the news.
See, I'm not on the platform anymore, so I didn't know what was going on. I had to just read it third hand, and
It was
I mean,
ridiculous.
just ironic. The CEO literally resigned over it. I mean, that company. I don't know how company is still advertising on that platform. And I'm kind of pissed at you that you're still on there. I feel like a lot of black people are still on X or Twitter, and they haven't come over to Blue Sky. And I'm like, come on, stop supporting. Don't give Musk your eyeballs. He loves the attention also. Like, he bought the whole platform just so he could send out his shit. And now he's just experimenting with AI on all of you. And I guess it went awry a couple of days ago. Okay, so I didn't realize it was sending porn and other shit around as well. I only saw, Jewish guy, I only saw the anti-Semitic angle on it. I didn't realize it was even beyond that, just waves and waves of a mess. So he's
Well,
sort
when
of
I
off.
saw the blurb, I went on, I'm not on it that much, but I went on and looked at my feed and I was like, what the fuck is this? This makes no sense. And yeah, I was kind of disturbed by it. So yeah, I mean, I'm not on it that much. I might as well break free.
But it goes to show you how even with AI, like artificial quote intelligence, well, the output's only gonna be a function of the input and how it's designed to look at data. Like we always think it's going to be this like independent vanilla arbiter of everything that it sees and just spit out like generic facts only results, but garbage in, garbage out. Shitty algorithm, shitty outcome. So once again, it ties into also like we can't overly trust technology because it's biased as well. And the people writing this code are those same fucking tech bros sitting out there who want to carve out and have their own island of only like white people, or they think we should be a techno state without a country. There shouldn't be countries. There should be like techno states run by the robots and the technology. Start reading some of those manifestos of those Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance crew. These people are fucking crazy. They're writing shit today worse than anything we've seen in the movies. Like, they got a vision of the world that's just, like, beyond Bond villain. So, I think Musk's blunders yesterday just is like a warning sign that, like, these things can definitely be manipulated. You can't believe half of what you see.
Right. It's scary, man. We're in a scary place.
Well, it got a little bit worse. We learned that Trump was a little bit crazy, but quick quiz for you, Mark. If in fact something were to befall Trump and J.D. Vance, who would step in as president?
It would be the Speaker of the House, wouldn't it?
I think it's the Senate pro temp, who, by the way, 111-year-old Chuck Grassley, who came out this morning saying he had no idea what was in the tax bill that he just signed. because there was some tax about what you can write off for gambling losses that has like all of like Nevada and Las Vegas up in arms, and Grassley had to do and he's on like the finance committee, but he had to do the like, oh, I had no idea, of course, because the fucking guy was sleeping all day. They woke him up for the vote, and then he's back to sleep. Guy's fucking ancient. But those guys in the Iowa Diner have been voting him in for 80 years. He's their guy.
God, and they're going to keep doing it. And
but he's in line. He's number 3. Though that our genius founding fathers decided that that's the person, the pro tem of the Senate, is who should step in if something were to befall president and vice president. Chuck Grassley, ready to go. Ready to go.
Yeah,
put me in coach.
The Speaker of the House.
You might be right. It might be Johnson ahead of Grassley, but Grassley's 4 if he's not 3.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we'll look it up and confirm for our viewers tomorrow. We want to give them accurate information.
Come in the comments and correct us, and Mark will get in the comments and will provide some blood pressure medicine information. To those that were asking, I'm sure everyone's blood pressure is going up, particularly in the Black community. Mark, so do that. Please do that. Please do that, public service.
Yeah, man.
And we got to talk about a rally. I mean, a major rally in D.C. has kind of fallen off of the topics, and we need our major activists and thinking about and making this happen. Like we need the one big ugly rally.
Right. Let's make it happen, bro. All right, let's stay fired up, bro. We'll get out of here today, wrap it up, and do it again tomorrow.
Mark, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Same here, my friend. Peace.